people are not out to get you. They're out to get theirs. You know, and that's so true. Everyone is just trying to get their needs met the best that they can. And along the way, sometimes you get hurt because you had expectations of things that were not met. And so if you can let those go and know that everyone is on his or her own path. Now, I can see some arms crossed and some, I'm not sure I can accept that idea. And I want to say again, it does not mean condoning actions that they may have done that hurt you. I'm not saying that. You don't say, well, that's okay. People can go around hurting each other, or they can do immoral or illegal things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying those things happen, and what we need to do is to understand that we had some part in that. There was something we needed to learn. And so, to make all things new, we let go of the past. We remember only the love and the honoring of the people that were there as our teachers. And it's just so, so important to do. Here, as we make all things new, we are trying so hard to not change anything because we really honor what you have created here. It's beautiful what you've created here. And just by our being here, everything has changed because we're different from your former pastor and former pastors. And even, I understand the practitioners were meeting, and Bob and I weren't at that meeting because we didn't know it was happening. We're not up on connecting to that calendar yet. And they were discussing, well, maybe we don't need 2 practitioners a service anymore because there are 2 ministers. So we'll discuss that at our next practitioner meeting. But I want you to know we didn't decide to make that change. They are discussing that change. And I'm bringing this up because sometimes changes can be upsetting when this is your spiritual center. We had a meeting recently. I don't know if you know this, but in the North State, there have been like 4 or 5 of our centers that have changed pastors. Lake Tahoe and the Sierra Church in the Grass Valley area. And this one and Chico. It seems like there's one more somewhere. What? That's not in the North State. Yeah. No, Paradise was 3 years ago. But at any rate, a lot of new ministers, and we're opening up to the United Ministers, which is wonderful. But, you know, each minister does things slightly differently and wants things done differently, and that's fine. We honor individual differences, and we let the ministers, usually, they are the helm of the spiritual teachings and practice. That means the Sunday service as well. And so I was hearing from some practitioners, and one practitioner said, this new minister is changing everything. She's changed the order of service. She's changed what she wants to be called compared to our other minister. That means she wanted reverend in her title. She's calling herself a spiritual director, and she's not my spiritual director. It was coming from this person. And I thought, ooh, gosh, that's what I like to call myself. Because pastor just seems like such a fundamentalist Christian title that I really prefer spiritual director. And I thought, gosh, I hope I'm not offending anybody by doing that. But what was interesting is that all things new were upsetting her. And we talked to another practitioner from the same church, and she said, oh, no, nothing is changing much. It's wonderful. Everything's fine. And so we said, wow, what a matter of perspective. So when new things happen, we need to look at, are we having a reaction to it? And can we allow new things to happen? Does it have to be right or wrong, or can it just be a new way, another way? And are you flexible in that way? You know, we say in this teaching, principle is never bound by precedent. Principle, meaning God operating as law, is never bound by what's happened before. It's open to newness all the time, and that applies in your life. You are not bound by your history. Your history is just your history. It's in the past. And it does not in any way determine your future unless you let it. You can let it, and we all know people who have let their history be the only option for their future. Family members are the best ones in this regard. I have a family member that is always whining about her life and the lack of possibilities. And have you ever noticed when you give suggestions, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? You get the yeah, but game. Yeah, but, I can't do that because, or what would I do with this? Or how would I do that? And it's just resistance to change. It's fear. It's fear of change, fear that I can't. And so it's so nice to be reminded that principle is never bound by precedent. So even though you may be bound by what's happened in your past, God is not, and God in you is not, and you are free to make another choice. And you can know that you have all the power of the universe behind you to do it differently. I love new opportunities. I love new challenges. Bob and I are so excited to be here. We love exploring new areas, being in this area, getting to know all of you wonderful people. We love that. We love that. And I've had people say to me, boy, we sure admire your courage at your age to pick up and pack up and start all over again. We don't view it that way at all. We don't view it. We go, another opportunity, another new adventure. Isn't this grand? Yeah, we have to haul a few boxes and we have a few bodily aches and pains, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It's a wonderful new experience. we were looking. One of the people that we admire and we followed his work for some time is Raymond Moody. He's been on some of the same speaking circuits that Reverend Bob has been on when he's toured the country. And so we've heard him speak a number of times and have talked to him and whatnot. And we always considered him an elder, And we were looking over an old program where Bob and he were speaking at the same time. And he looked at me and says, do you know how old Raymond Moody is? I said, no. He said, he was born the same year we were. I said, you're kidding. I thought he was an old guy. So I just want to close by telling you that we are so pleased to be here. We are open to serving you. We're open to your suggestions. And we want to honor the path that you've had. So we know that we can't please everybody all the time. So we will be doing the best that we can to do our spiritual path. But please know that as we make all things new, we're trying to honor your past. And so it is. Bob?